at Bristol Myers Squibb. Ken learned at Johnson & Johnson that if you take care of your people, they will take care of the business. He based his leadership and now his coaching on his belief that trust is the foundation of great relationships, and great relationships lead to success. He believes so strongly in this that he developed the trust success model, which, when followed, can lead to transformational change both on a personal level and a business level. Ken is currently a career and executive business coach who advises his clients on how to develop themselves and their teams in order to increase their level of success and or to move up in their company. I am very pleased that we've made it to the right Zoom room, and also to welcome Ken Sher, who is going to share with you his tips for world-class leadership development on a shoestring budget.
Well, thank you very much. It was quite a battle that we had getting here. And I don't know if you noticed me coming in and out during the introduction, but I was having some technical difficulties, so the timing worked out well. I do apologize for any background noise. I am actually calling in from vacation land. I'm happy to be here, though. And I want to start actually by just talking about a little trip down memory lane. Thinking back to times when the economy was doing well, businesses were doing well, people were happy in their jobs, they were spending money, and we were all living a pretty good life for a while there. And then all of a sudden, seemingly overnight, things changed. And all of a sudden, businesses weren't doing so well. The economy was suffering. There was unemployment. People were losing their jobs, losing their homes. It really was a very difficult time. And I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, this is the pandemic that I'm talking about, and who could have seen that coming? Well, the reality is that we should have seen it coming. And from a leadership perspective, great leaders probably did see it coming. And even if they weren't specifically aware that a pandemic was coming, they knew that they needed to be prepared for whatever comes next. And if you think about it, over time, we have seen it before. We've seen it back in the 1990s during the tech, when there was a tech bubble. And Silicon Valley was booming. People were investing money. They couldn't invest it fast enough. They were investing in companies that didn't even make a profit. They were investing in companies that didn't even have a product. And yet that bubble, it grew and it grew, and people made a lot of money until all of a sudden, pop, that bubble burst. And then the economy struggled, and people were out of work, and people were really brilliant, smart people from the tech world were looking for jobs. And the NASDAQ lost $5 trillion. That's how big a hit the tech bubble bursting had on the economy. But then, as always happens, it's cyclical. Things started to get better and better again. And all of a sudden, there was employment. There was almost full employment. And people were working, and they were making money, and businesses were doing well. And people were spending money, and they were living the American dream. And that American dream included buying a house. So they bought a house, and banks couldn't lend money fast enough. They were lending it to everybody. It didn't matter whether they had good credit or not, whether they could afford the house or not. And eventually that caught up, and that housing bubble that grew and grew and grew, it burst. And again, the economy struggled, people were out of work, businesses struggled. So we've seen these things happen before. And great leaders, even though they can't read the future, they know things are going to happen. They have contingency plans. And that's why it's critical that we train our people, train our leaders to be prepared for whatever comes next. And Wayne Calloway was the chairman and CEO of PepsiCo back in the 80s and 90s. And he was credited with turning PepsiCo around. It was struggling at the time, and he broke it out into 3 business units and grew it 4-fold in the time he was there. And this quote from him is really as true today as it was then. And that is that the companies that struggle aren't paying attention to developing their leaders. And then their leaders are struck with things like happening with the tech bubble, the housing bubble, the pandemic, and they're just not prepared to handle those kind of things that great leaders need to handle. So today we're going to talk about some of these things and how you can get your company to understand the value of implementing a leadership development program, and also you can do it at a minimal cost. I'm going to talk about how to identify the needs and establish the metrics that will convince your company to go along with the leadership development process, and then also how to partner with company leadership to find the resources that you need to develop a world-class leadership development program with minimal budget.